recently had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I asked him, "Yo, would you still be friends with your parents if they weren't your parents?" He was befuddled, flabbergasted, a little bit confused. He was like, "Yo, that's a deep question." And the origin of that question was understanding my parents as an adult and seeing my parents as just adults rather than just my parents. And there are a couple different angles you can take with this question where you say, all right, what if my parents now were the same age? So what if they were my age, 26? Would I want to be friends with them? Or what if I was their age? They're in their early 50s. If I was in my early 50s, would I want to be friends with the 50-year-old versions of my parents? Completely separating myself from the parent-child dynamic that I've been so used to. And thinking about my parents just as human beings with a past, a present, and a future that doesn't involve me. So he answered the question. He said, "Fam, I don't even know. I'm not even going to hold you." And I said, fair. When you take just the one angle, let's say I'm my parents' age. In this present moment in time, my parents and I were in the same age cohort, and I meet them in passing, or I meet them because of a mutual interest. Would I want to be friends with both of my parents, or, with each of my parents individually? So when I think about it, my answer for my mother and my father would be yes. Yet, the relationships will look drastically different. Drastically different. Because of how I've grown to understand my parents' personalities, character traits, their redeeming qualities, their flaws, their amazing aspects of who they are as individuals. I now understand more about their parenting styles for me. So, parenting me through my different phases of life, from a baby, I don't remember much, I was a baby, but from, young adolescence to teenagehood, and now in young adulthood, and seeing how their personalities translate to how they interact with me and my sister. Now, if I was my 50-year-old self, which is kind of weird to think about, how would I navigate friendships with each of my parents individually? So given the information that I have presently with all my past experiences, current perceptions of who they are as individuals, my friendship with my mother, it would be a friendship of having deep conversations, having common understandings about spirituality, about religion, understanding social dynamics, digging deep into friendships, or digging deep into analyzing friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships, anything that has to do with like people and understanding how people operate, what they do, what they don't do, why they act the way they do in certain situations. It would be a very emotionally, conversationally driven type of relationship where we talk on the phone for hours and we link up to get food, just talk for hours on hours and deep conversations, and it would be dope. If I was to have a friendship with my father, it would be activity based, where anytime it's time, go fishing, time to go to a music performance, trying to go see some bands, go listen to some house music somewhere, go dancing, go out. That would be a very activity-based relationship where we're friends because we enjoy doing things. and we enjoy doing the same types of things. And my father was a hoot. He laugh and he's life of the party. So understanding his personality traits and characteristics, that's how that relationship would go. Now the difference between me being friends with my mother and with my father is with my father, from past experiences, I can tell that the same deep conversations that I can have with my mother, I maybe can't have that as frequently as I would with my father. And the same types of activities that I do with my father, my mother just may not be interested in it, and she just may not want to do that, or whatever hobbies or whatever activities that I would do with my dad. So that question was so intriguing to really parse through, because all too often I found myself in my younger years taking my relationship with my parents for granted and never seeing them just as people. It was always, oh, you're there, and I'll just ask you for, things like, can I take the car? Can I go do this? I need you to sign this permission slip or something. It was all just based on a parent-child dynamic, which made sense when I was younger. But now as I come into adulthood, now it's becoming more of adult to adult dynamic. And I'm privileged to be able to say that I can discuss my relationship with both my parents, and yes, for all the misgivings, and yes, for all the tough times, there's also a lot of beautiful times that I've had with both my parents as individuals and developing my own relationships with them. And also want to acknowledge that it's a privilege just to have access to my parents, and I can't even imagine what it would be to ask this question to someone who didn't have fruitful or loving relationships with their parents growing up. That having access to my parents is a privilege, and I want to acknowledge that wholeheartedly. And I don't want to take those relationships for granted. Now, ask yourself this question, if the question applies to you and your situation. Would you want to be friends with your parents? And it can be from the dynamic of your parents being your age, or you being your parents' age in this, whatever the present moment of time is. And really unpack, why is it that you may say one answer versus another? Unpack why you treat your parents in a specific way, or not treat, but why you interact with your parents in a specific way, and why they interact with you in a specific way. And this could be applied to actually any given family member. It doesn't have to just be parents. It could be siblings, it could be cousins, it could be aunts, uncles. Anybody who you have a blood tie with, but the relationship can look any given type of way. Just because y'all family don't mean y'all are automatically connected, automatically friends, automatically like each other. Like you don't have to like your family. It helps if you do, but your family is people too. So there are just certain people that you're just not going to connect with, gel with, because of poor experiences, negative interactions, or just conflicting characteristics and conflicting personality traits, conflicting ideological beliefs, conflicting thoughts about different social issues. All of this plays into relationships. And it's important to acknowledge it. It's important to acknowledge you don't have to be friends with your fam. You don't have to be buddy just because y'all share a blood tie, essentially. And anytime I think about it with other family members, I think, it's okay that we don't have the tightest of bonds. It's okay. Sometimes I just have to accept that maybe I'm not going to be as close with these family members or this family member from this side of the fam. It's okay. I don't have to be. I don't. And it's not to even just center my feelings. It's also maybe they don't want to be, tight with me. And that's cool. It is okay. It's okay. No love lost. We good. Yet, I still want to try. I still think about where those relationships could lead and just how any given relationship within a family dynamic, when one gets tighter, it seems like it brings the whole family structure a little bit closer together. And I wonder how rifts in people's family structures, where it seems to start with just one fissure or one gap between siblings, and how that has a ripple effect across the family tree. I think about that often, actually, more often than I would like. Yet, key points. Just because they're your parents doesn't mean you have to be the best of friends. Just because someone is in your family, it doesn't mean you have an automatic dope connection. And that's okay. Family relationships, you gotta work at them just like any other given relationship, whether it be romantic, platonic, at work, in school. All relationships take intentional effort. It take time. It take positive interactions to lead to positive outcomes and positive sentiments about the relationship. So I'll leave you with this. Just because you share blood tie doesn't mean you gotta be the best of friends. And that's okay. Yet, there's still always that possibility to create stronger relationships within family dynamics, within family structures, within the family tree. But it just takes intentional effort. It just takes time. It takes patience. It takes forgiveness. That's a big word. So, I'll say, don't take your family for granted. And family looks different for everybody. But whomever you consider your loved ones, don't take them for granted.